Part of what's hard about it is you never know if you're doing it right until after it's already done. Like we might have opinions, we might have thoughts, we might even have some evidence that we're doing it right, but you don't really figure out if you're doing it right until they're like 34. That's when you really start to see the outcome of parenting. That's when you see if maybe you did it okay. And I've jokingly said this for years. I've told my sons this. I told them that somewhere in their 30s that we would have a conversation and there would be things that I need to apologize for because I didn't do it quite right. But it was important that they always know that the reason for any mistakes was not because I wasn't trying, but because I didn't know any better. You just don't know. There's a lot you don't know. There's a lot that I don't know. Like, there's so many moments that I've had where I just realized that I'm wishing and guessing and hoping. And if that's the case, one of the things that I tried to do early on is I looked around my life and I asked, who's got great kids? And asked those people questions. My friend Bob, literally Bob, had 3 daughters, great, great kids, grown up, successful, like really great people. He'd built a great home life, a great family, a great everything. Just really spectacular. So I just asked him one day, eating tacos, and I knew about myself that I've got a few opinions. I got a few thoughts. I've got a few things, and I know that in the midst of having a little bit of a big personality, that I didn't want to suck the air out of the room for my kids because I'd been around parents whose big personalities had kind of squashed their kids, and I didn't want to do that either. So I asked him what mattered most. What's some parenting advice he could give me? What are some things that he wished that he'd heard earlier? What are some things that I should be thinking about? And he had this really direct, really soft-spoken answer that hit me. And he said this: if it's about safety, be unyielding. If it's about preference, let them choose. It's pretty beautiful. And he followed it up with this kind of thought that I was already kind of like putting together in my head before he even said it. But he said, when they're young, many of the decisions you're making when they're young are about safety. Many of the choices you're making are about safety. And the older they get, the more it becomes about preference. There will still be safety. There will still be that tension of safety and preference. But as they get older, more and more will be about preference, and let them choose. And what was really beautiful about that is it's conceptual until you're in it. If you're a parent, you may very well have responded the way I did and thought, oh, that's pretty rich and good. It's not my idea, it's his. Just repeating from somebody who's pretty brilliant. And in my heart, I almost always know which one I'm looking at. They both feel kind of philosophical, but at the same time, there's that clarity of the difference between the two. One of the rules when they were young was when we went to the park. We lived we lived close to downtown, and living close to downtown, we live in a great neighborhood, a great area, a really cool area. We loved it. But when we walked to the park, we knew that people would drive through our neighborhood on the way to downtown, and it was kind of a cut through space. So they're little kids. One of our rules, I had this weird little rule that you don't walk between the sidewalk and the curb. Stay on the sidewalk. They're little boys. Dad, why can't we walk on the curb? Why can't we do this? And they would ask that question until the day came that somebody came whipping around a corner. And whenever they were whipping around a corner, they weren't quite paying attention. And they ended up driving up over the curb into the grass and then back down onto the road again and continuing on. And they looked at me from 10 feet ahead and realized why Dad wanted them to stay on the sidewalk. And you know what conversation I never had to have again? That one. That one's easy. Safety doesn't need their agreement. Safety just keeps them alive. And as they've gotten older, it gets messier and it gets more personal and it gets more threatening for you as a dad. I'm just going to give you guys a little preview. Evolving and learning and growing and beginning to let go as your children get older has been really hard for me because I got plenty of opinions. I got plenty of thoughts. I got plenty of ways that I think that the world ought to be and the way that we ought to act in the world. I have plenty of those things. But as they get older, if it's about safety, be unyielding. And if it's about preference, let them choose. And as they've gotten older, the thing I have to learn how to do is shut up. And I suck at that. Because when my oldest went off to college, I watched him navigating college life from a distance. Because he's going to class, he's making friends, he's working a job, he's making his grades, he's doing all the things that he should be doing. But of course, dad has opinions. And dad wants to see him, and dad wants all these things. But in the midst of all of it, I had to look at it and go, is this about safety or is this about preference? Because everything in me wanted to stand on the corner and tap my foot and wait for him to listen to me. And instead, I had to keep my mouth shut and let him launch. Because remember what I said in the very beginning? You'll find out around 34 the kind of parent that you were. I'm starting to find out what kind of parent that I am and that I was. And that doesn't mean I abandon him. It doesn't mean I disappear, because I'm going to be here the whole time. No matter what happens, I'm always on some level the backstop. I am on some level the support. I am on some level the safe place. And I wasn't going to stop being his dad, but I had to stop being his manager. And there were plenty of moments where I thought, man, I wish he wouldn't do it that way. Or man, I wish he would listen. But let's be real. That's about preference. If it's about safety, be unyielding. If it's about preference, let them choose. That's one of the difficulties as he grows up. The other one is dating and girls and relationships and everything that goes along with that. And that's utterly, unequivocally, absolutely, undeniably terrifying for me. And it's terrifying because I don't ever want to see my kids hurt. I don't want to see them heartbroken. I don't want to see them disappointed. I don't want to see any of those things. And I want to do the 21st century version of, they always talk about this for daughters, but I kind of want to do it for sons, where I'm on the front porch cleaning my gun, philosophically speaking, because I don't even own a gun. But I want to protect them. I want to steer them away from something that might hurt them. But I know in my heart that all of this is part of growing up. And this is an area where I have to let them choose. And I've got to shut up while also hoping that they ask. Can I be the safe person? Can I be a good dad that they can come to me and ask when they need help, ask when they have thoughts? The fear I have is real. The things that I want to protect them from are real, but I have to let them choose. Changing lanes a little bit. Father's Day. I've said this a few times. I'm a single dad. Father's Day for a single dad it's hard. When there are two parents, the opposite parent runs the day. On Mother's Day, dad gets up, rouses the kids out, makes breakfast in bed, makes them go to the store and pick out flowers, like shows them how to celebrate their mom, and vice versa for moms and dads, and all that kind of works out. But whenever there's only one parent, you don't have that. Nobody in your house has that job. And here's this little thing that's like a free giveaway for you. I've said this for probably 20 years. On Father's Day, text a single dad. Tell them they're doing a good job. Tell them you appreciate them. Tell them anything nice. On Mother's Day, text a single mom. Let them know how much you appreciate them, how much you see them working hard, how much you love what they're doing, how valuable they are. Say those things, because on those days, you may be the only one that celebrates them that day. It's not always the case, but be aware that you may be the only one that celebrates them that day. And that's a hard day, because on that day, there's this unspoken pressure about what that day was supposed to look like. And when it doesn't live up to it, it's hard for you to respond well. It doesn't make you a bad person, it makes you human. Back when my boys were little, let's say 7 and 4. I don't remember a specific year, but that's that window of time. They wake up, it's Sunday, and they want waffles and bacon and juice and all the things that are breakfast on a Sunday that are part of the morning. They don't wake up thinking about Father's Day. And when you get up as a dad, You get up and you tell yourself that you're going to be good about it, that you're going to be selfless, that you're not going to overthink it, that you're not going to stress out about it, that you're not going to overthink it. Like it's just going to be a day. It's not a big deal. But there's this secret part of you that hopes they remember. There's this part of you that you don't even want to admit is in there. And in the middle of all that, when it doesn't happen, when it just feels like every other Sunday, it leaves you a little flat. Maybe it leaves you a lot flat. Some years you do better, some years you do worse, but there's always this tension that exists within it because of just the expectation of the day. And flat is easy to take out on your kids by accident. It's easy to sulk. It's easy to withdraw. It's easy to walk around under a dark cloud on that day and nobody really knows why. And with your bad attitude and with your bad behavior, you cast a dark cloud on everybody else's day too. And that trap is regular. And it's not because you're a bad person. It's because you're human. And it's just a struggle. And it's never as clean as I screwed up this year and I figured it out and I got better. It was a thing that you struggled with and you dealt with every year. And that as time passed, something hopefully got distilled and sorted, but never perfected. And if I'm being honest, there were years that I did everything right, but I still went to bed dark. And there were days, years, where I behaved well and I still went to bed feeling like a failure. And it was rarely as neat as I was an asshole today and I did it wrong. It was often I did it right and I still felt like an asshole. But it was a trap. And every year it was, can I carry it well this year? Can I let it be what it is this year? Now, this year, the boys are 19 and 16. They're old enough that they should have this figured out. And I spent the whole week leading up to Father's Day not hearing from my 19-year-old at all. Like, not about this. We didn't talk about it. Didn't bring it up. Didn't say it. He didn't say, hey, Dad, what do you want to do for Father's Day? He didn't say, hey, Dad, we should do this for Father's Day. He didn't say anything about it. It never even came up. And every instinct I had was to remind him. Ask him, what's the plan? I didn't send it. You know why? There's a version of that text that sounds like concern and functions like guilt. You know, that passive-aggressive reminder of what he was forgetting? I don't want to do that. That's not the relationship I want to have with my kids. That was the moment I needed to grow up. I needed to keep my mouth shut and let it be what it is. Because I didn't want to be the guy who fires off that flare and watches as he scrambles to make it up to me. But I'll be honest, I was a little anxious that week. And I didn't know what was going to happen. And then Father's Day came along and it just became. We got up. We celebrated. We ended up on a little impromptu road trip after lunch that day. We went for a hike. We had a great day. We all got sweaty. We had a great time. We put our feet in the cold water. We had a great time. I didn't manufacture it. It wasn't perfect, but it sure was beautiful. And I didn't instigate it. It just happened. And that feels pretty good. So it starts with a good dad sharing some truth and the strip of grass between the curb and the sidewalk, and a son at college and learning to keep my mouth shut, and 2 sons and dating and fear and all the things, and a decade of Father's Days where I'm just trying to figure it out. And I'm reminded again at the age that we are now that when they were little, almost all of it was safety. Now almost none of it is. The rule didn't change, but I had to, in order for my sons to grow into the men that they're going to become. And what used to be about the curb is now about Dad being quiet and trusting them. And I know with each of these decisions that I can still ask the question, is it about safety? Then be unyielding. If it's about preference, then let them choose. Thanks for being here. See you next week.